Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hey guys, we're your hosts, M and J, and today we want to talk about Pinocchio, a true story. The first of the 3 Pinocchio movies slated to release this year, the other 2 being Disney's live-action remake of their original classic, and a long-awaited interpretation by Guillermo del Toro. So this movie has some stiff competition, and it seems like they were well aware of that fact, so to stand out they're relying on their cast, which includes the likes of Tom Kenny, a notable voice actor, John Heder, probably most famous for Napoleon Dynamite, and Pauly Shore as Pinocchio, which raised a few eyebrows, since Shore doesn't seem to be the most fitting actor for the role, but it does make for an entertaining watch.
Father, tell me, when can I leave to be on my own? I've got the whole world to see. I want to meet other people.
The film itself is a Russian production, and there are actually 2 English dubs of the movie, one from the UK and the other released in the US by Lionsgate, which is the dub the internet has been so interested in. The British version is serviceable, but it also reveals the fact that the movie is basically just a harmless but forgettable kids film. There's not a lot here that actually makes the film memorable, but Pauly Shore's performance tends to distract from how tame the film is. He has a habit of adding a lot of flair, I guess you could say, to fill in some of the quieter spaces.
Let's go, Tybalt! Great adventures await!
Let's go, Tybalt! Great adventures await!
This movie claims to be the true story of Pinocchio, so while other versions of Pinocchio are just hearsay, which is kind of rude to Carlo Collodi, the original author of Pinocchio, but we're told by a talking horse named Tybalt that Pinocchio really is a living puppet, but most of the rest of the story is completely fabricated, like the stuff about his nose growing when he lies. Apparently that's too ridiculous to believe, but a talking horse and a living puppet is apparently much more believable. I feel like at this point it's not too much of a stretch, but the movie is very adamant that the rest of that stuff is all nonsense. The true story of Pinocchio is actually pretty tame. He joins a circus and falls in love. It turns out the circus is a front for a criminal organization, and then Pinocchio has to save the day. There is a fairy, who's the one who brought him to life. There's also a talking cat and a fox, which mostly isn't explained, but that's about it. I wasn't expecting this movie to have musical numbers, but it actually does have a few. They're nothing spectacular, but I've heard worse from kids' movies. Likewise, the animation isn't spectacular either, but it's serviceable, and I have seen worse. So I guess that's all the praise it can get. I like how Pinocchio's love interest hair flows, so there's that. It's mostly boring, although there are some wild moments, like when the cat gets startled by Pinocchio being a living puppet, so he shoots him. I'm not sure why an anthropomorphic talking cat would be so surprised by this. They never actually explained that. Who exactly is he to judge? And then there was a kind of cool moment where Pinocchio attacks the cat, so he and Tybalt can escape. It wasn't actually revenge for that shooting, but close enough. I'd say Pinocchio is a serviceable protagonist. He pushes the plot forward by wanting to see the world. It works for this movie. I don't really know what to make of Tybalt. I guess they're using him to replace Jiminy Cricket, but I prefer Jiminy. Tybalt isn't exactly an animal sidekick, but he's not exactly a mentor either, although the movie does try to force him into that role. Geppetto isn't around for most of the movie, so Pinocchio asks Tybalt to be his father, except Tybalt doesn't really know how to be a father. Plus he's a horse, so there's that. It was just a little strange. I did think Bella was an alright love interest, and she had things going on independent from Pinocchio, which made her feel a bit more organic, as opposed to the movie needs a love interest. Overall, the film is pretty forgettable. We did have some fun with it, but the animation's pretty mediocre, the story's relatively bland, the characters aren't that inspiring, the acting is kind of phoned in. Even Tom Kenny, who's a renowned voice actor, just doesn't sound like he cares. But unfortunately, the movie doesn't hit that sweet spot of so bad it's good. Maybe if you're really curious about Pauly Shore's performance, it was funny.
I'm a boy and I'm alive!
But the movie's still pretty underwhelming, and I wish they'd borrowed more from the actual source material. I'd rather wait and see what the other 2 Pinocchio movies have to offer. Hopefully they'll be more interesting than just he joins a circus and falls in love. Thanks for watching everybody, we really appreciate it. Before we go, we want to give a shout out to our members: Stutania, Tyrant Carnivore, Adam K, Shiny Orc Boy, The Rabbit Mancer, General Bolivar, Death Charge Media, Samaru163, Gabby Hime, Sandy Martin, Verdant Rain, Strange, Butcher7 Actual, Dashhound, JVR, Hussyman42, Nixel, Eric Griffin, Phantom of the Night, Phil C, Taylor Ramirez, Caleb Nelson, Shrike Z, Bandito Bane, Xsona X, and Hunter Rose. Thank you all so much for your support. If you'd like to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. We also have Buy Me Coffee if you want to support us that way. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and that's free. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Bye guys.